Welcome to today's video, and today's video is going to be what women used to bring to the table. And no, ladies, it's not you. All right. So what they used to bring to the table. But first, I must say that I'm going to read an article about what women in the 50s used to do. Now, people are still people. All right. People cheating, people doing this, people doing that. People are people. All right. So in this time, you have to understand that it was after World War II, and our adversaries couldn't defeat us because we were a united people with weapons. So having said that, we were all a big community. All right. Everyone knew each other. Everyone knew everyone in town, and everyone knew each other's kids, and so on and so forth. Parents didn't need to be around for adults to correct any children, okay, under 18 that would need to be oops upside your head or whatever. All right. People told you what to do. There was a lot more respect, and that's just the way it was. Okay. So what that means is that people were safe. Kids were safe. There really wasn't too many things wrong in the community. If you were obviously off, the community would see and they would put you out. That's just how things would work. Okay. Totally different than today. So anyways, what these ladies used to do, that's today's article. So in the 1950s in America was an intriguing period for families. All right. So you had big families because there was strength in numbers. All right. So I lived this, and so did the person that I was married to once. She was born in the 60s. I was born in the 70s. So I can vouch for how community was at the time. For me, when I was growing up, 4 or 5 years old, parents didn't really have to police us. They just, we would go out and be gone all day. There were no adults around. We were out in the sticks, in the middle of nowhere. No one was bothering us. All right. You were late if the lights on the streets came home. Then it was your ass. All right. And you didn't want to be late. All right. Because then you would have to deal with your dad. So anyways, let's get to the article. All right. So one of the key characteristics of this period was women overwhelmingly embraced their roles as devoted homemakers and wives. Well, you have to understand there was no Starbucks, there was no H-E-B, there were no Stripes, things like that. All right. So everything happened at home. And in order for you to have access to a woman or a woman to a man, you had to get married. There was no online dating or anything like that. If you wanted to have sex, you had to be married. All right. That's how it was. So when I envisioned this time in history, the meticulous daily routine in the 1950s homemakers immediately comes to mind. All right. I'm going to read some of these things that they used to do, and not go into a lot of detail. I'll continue reading, and then there's a part where they do go into detail. All right. So I'll try to keep this video short. And if it goes on too long, just pause it, take a break from it, and then continue watching it later. All right. So this is what women used to bring to the table. All right. So a typical day in 1950s, housewives would begin early in the morning. Right. We would wake up, open the windows, make the bed. The father would get his things to go to work. She would go into the kitchen. She would, wake up the children, and so on and so forth, to get people out the door. A woman's home was her castle. They took pride in what they did. All right. Their moms and grandmas and so on, and aunties and so on, took them by the hand when they were really young, 6, 7, old enough to know how to make tortillas and things like that. and these girls learned how to be a homemaker. That's why these women took it serious, because the community took it serious back in the day. All right. So she would obviously start making breakfast and things like that. So throwing back the covers, open up the windows and blinds to freshen up the home, and preparing a wholesome breakfast, eggs, bacon, sausage, milk, orange juice. You got the deal, right? It is essential to recognize that the daily schedule showcased the hard working and determination of the 1950 homemaker. While our modern lives may look quite different, there is still much to be learned and appreciated from their diligence and attention to detail and aspects of their household duties. Okay? So back at this time, people again were united. They weren't divided. All right. At home at midnight, when they had TV, the news stations, NBC, ABC, and so on, CBS, they would put in like some military thing at midnight, and that's how there was no more TV. It was off. Nothing was aired. That were the times, all right? So you had to entertain yourselves with your family. The daily routine of the 1950 housewife, morning chores, okay? So the typical 1950 housewife began her day early, like I mentioned, getting the kids out to school and him to work, packing him a lunch, making him a sandwich for work, a team. It's not slavery, it was teamwork. So opening the blinds, letting fresh air and sunlight come through. She would then freshen up and head to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Afternoon tasks, here we go. In the afternoon, afternoon served as a crucial time for housewives to begin tackling additional housekeeping tasks and start preparation for dinner. Okay? So, no one's really going to be home for lunch, so you just grab yourself some lunch, and at lunch you start thinking about dinner, because that's going to be your main meal, all right? Because everybody's home, the kids and you talk about your day, what happened. See, this is when people would actually talk to their children and have actual feedback, all right? This is the time before the corporations got into your school, all right? Your kids weren't ripped away from you because they went to a school. All right. They grew up to be great kids, and they respected and loved their parents. All right. It wasn't until the 70s till the corporations got into school, and look at what it is now. All right. So here we go. Deep cleaning the bathrooms. All right. That was in the afternoon. Cleaning out the refrigerator, because, we all have to, get those, old, let's say, lettuce from the corner, or tomato that falls somewhere deep down at the bottom of the refrigerator, or some dry Coke or mustard or whatever. Those pesky little spills and things like that. Changing the bedding. Making meal plans and shopping lists. This is what they would do in the afternoon. So in the evening responsibilities, so as evening approached, the housewife would shift preparing dinner for the family. After the meal was served and enjoyed, she would clean up the kitchen and the dishes. This was also the time for some typical evening chores, such as final cleaning and tidying up of the home for the night. All right, ironing clothes and linen. So ironing clothes for her husband, the shirt, because you had to have creases. Back in the day, you couldn't show up, okay, without looking proper, okay? You didn't have hanging pants down to your knees, tattoos everywhere, looking like a thug and shit like that, or looking like me, all right? Planning the next day meals and activities, assembling lunch for the children to take to school the following day, things like that, all right? So meal planning and preparation. Homemakers would spend considerable time planning and preparing meals for her family. They took pride in the meals they cooked. Remember, there was no H-E-B, no grocery store or anything else like that. So people, especially women, competed for who made the best dish of whatever you think of. You know, maybe a hamburger or maybe some salad, whatever dish. They all took pride in trying to outdo each other and so on and so forth. It was fun, all right? You may not understand it because it's 2023, all right? So anyways, kitchen chores revolved around creating balance, a home-cooked meal to ensure everyone was well fed and healthy. They grew things outside. They had a garden and so on and so forth, and cows and milk and so on. All right, so it was fresh. Their breakfast, okay? The day would begin with a well-rounded breakfast, like I said, with eggs and so on and so forth. Lunch, which is a nutritious food that would provide energy for the afternoon. A sandwich were popular and often featured cold cuts and things like that. All right, your dinner was your main meal, right? So the main meal, and the 50s housewife would start preparing well in advance. The dinner menu would typically include a protein such as a meat, poultry, or fish. Not much really changed, right? Accompanied with vegetables and a starch like potato or rice. Dessert would often make from scratch and served as a sweet tart. So remember, by hand. Okay, this is what women used to bring to the table. Knowledge, wisdom, passed on by their families. Because we were close-knit community. That's why it all worked. That's why we were all safe. All right, there was no stranger danger. There were no latchkey kids. All right, where the government raises them. You know what I mean? So, cleaning and tidying the home. Here we go. So we're going to do with bedrooms. A neat and tidy bedroom can help you relax and rest easier at night. In the 1950s, housewives' cleaning schedule daily tasks included making the bed and tidying up the clutter. Weekly chores consist of changing the bedding and dusting, making the bed. Laundry baskets and clothing hampers are used to get the clothes off the floor. How is your home? Is it a mess? Is it cluttery? Well, you know, that was not allowed back then. All right? We were clean, proper, and very militaristic. Vacuum or sweep the floor. Polish furniture. Remember, there were no services back then. So everything had to be done by hand, by the wife, because it was her home. It's her home, right? She would polish the furniture, like I mentioned, organize and declutter, cleaning windows. How many of your modern women can even do one of these things without bitching? They won't, right? Anyways, wash curtains and blinds, air out the room, clean under the bed, freshen up the bedding. Along with changing the bedding weekly, consider rotating and fluffing pillows to maintain their shape and freshness. Well, back then, you know, there were feathers in the pillows. So, you know, you had to do what it says here. There was a lot of things that you had to do by hand. All right. That's why men and women were very important to be agreeable, to understand each other's roles, so we can have strong children and community. So there's no weirdos like there are today who can't figure out what sex they are. All right. It's the breakdown of the nuclear family. All right. That's why we're in this heap of trouble. So bathrooms, they also cleaned that. Bathrooms were important areas to focus in 1950 cleaning routine. Proper housekeeping entailed wiping down bathroom fixtures, deep cleaning showers, and disposing of garbage. What you do today, all right? What your wife is asking you to do as a man, all right? Scrub and disinfect the toilets. That was part of the bathrooms. Cleaning the sink and countertops. Polish mirrors and glass and surfaces. Again, this is what women willingly brought, intrinsically brought with them. They were valuable, not because we wanted a mother, but because we have a family. Okay? It has nothing to do about being a mother to us. There is one mother, and that's all we're asking for. We don't need to marry our mother, because that would be disgusting. Or someone like her. All right? That's why we choose you. We don't want you to replace our mother. Okay? We want you to be our partner. Okay? In this thing called life. Sweep and mop the floors. Cleaning, organizing bathrooms and cabinets. Wash bathing mats and towels. Check and replace bathroom essentials. Back then, women had to wash by hand. Back in the day, we just had like newer washing machines. They would spin around, and then there would be rolling pins to put the clothes through and squeeze the water. That's how we used to wash clothes back in the 70s and 80s. So, we had to do everything by hand. That's why we were both important to come together and raise our children. We both had knowledge and wisdom, okay? So, living areas. The living room, dining room, and hallways were essential in 1950. To keep these areas presentable, consider adopting these practices. Dust all surface and furniture. Clean windows. Back then, okay, there weren't too many roads. There was dust. So this had to be a thing, all right? It's not slavery. It just had to be done. So you wouldn't have all this dust, because we didn't have AC back then, all right? We had to open the windows. I'm saying all this so you have context, all right? No one was being a slave back then, all right? Polishing wood furniture, cleaning upholstery, cleaning your furniture, because guess what? You bought your furniture once. You couldn't go out to and get another set. You had one set to last you for 20 years or so, okay? So that's why you had to clean it, learn how to clean it. You would have to take chemicals and foams and brushes and so on to get the dust and the grime and the oil and the spills of children off the furniture. All right? The actual couches weren't like stain resistant and so on and so forth like today's furniture. Clean curtains and dust blinds. Maintaining carpets and rugs. Organize and declutter. Remember, there were no services. I mean, they did have services to a degree, but not like how we have it now, where it's so convenient, all right? Again, cleaning light fixtures and chandeliers. Remember, this is what women brought with them. No one complained about telling her, hey, you need to do this. They already knew what to do. Again, people were people. Okay, the same thing that people are doing now is the same raunchy shit people were doing back then. But obviously it was a lot more discreet because it wasn't tolerated. You had to be really discreet. And most of the time than not, back in the 50s, you weren't allowed to have hanky-panky with anyone unless you were married. Everybody knew that. People would just, that's how it was, all right? So the kitchen. Again, clean off the countertops and dishes. Sweep and mop the kitchen floor. Clean kitchen appliances. Organize cabinets and pantry. People took pride in their belongings, all right? Because back then, we were in the gold standard, all right? It wasn't 1970 when they took us off of the gold standard. So a man, one man could do and provide so much for his family, All right. The wife wasn't stressed out because the man made enough, because our money was backed up by gold. That's why life was so different. Okay. Wash your kitchen linen, clean the sink, garbage disposal. All right. Empty and clean the trash can, maintaining well-stocked pantry and refrigerators. Okay. So these are all things that they used to do. By incorporating these practices, cleaning routine in 1950, homemakers could maintain and clean, organized, and a functional kitchen. Now, this video is not to dig on women. This is a video to let men who don't know what women used to bring to the table to know what women used to bring to the table. This is why men are leaving American women alone. Okay? Women complain, modern women complain about all men want is sex. Yes, sweetheart, all we want is sex, because you can't bring any of these things I just mentioned here. All you ever bring is sex. That's all you bring. So that's all we need you for, because we're doing all of this on our own because you are misbehaving. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in another video.